Hey guys, welcome to the video. Salt here. Today we're going to be going over the primary weapon, the Kuva Hind. Now in this weapon series, I take a weapon, I build it out, and I test that weapon on its own merits, meaning I don't mix it with any kind of external factors that would increase weapon performance. That would be things like Warframes using abilities, pets putting statuses on enemies, things like that. I just test the weapon built out by itself, and I let the viewer make their own intelligent conclusions about adding those external things. So the Kuva Hind was recommended to us by commenter Nostrapapas, and that's why we're doing it today. We have the top commenter of the last video, Salazar Firefang, and the first commenter of the last video, Project Sunny 309. All right, let's get into the Kuva Hind here. So the Kuva Hind is a Kuva weapon, so you have to go through the whole Lich system to get this eventually. And like all Kuva weapons, it can go to level 40 instead of level 30. So you'll level it to 30, and then you have to put a forma, and then it'll level to 32, and then you have to put a forma, and then level 34, and every 2 levels up until level 40. And like other Kuva weapons, you can choose a progenitor element. And you could pick between a few different elements. On this particular build that we're doing today, we're going to be picking a toxin progenitor, but there are other options to possibly be picking a heat progenitor as well. So let's go into the Hind here. So interesting and unique things about the Kuva Hind is its firing modes. It has 3 firing modes. It has an automatic, a burst, and a semi-automatic firing mode. And these modes actually have different stats as far as their crit chances, their crit multipliers, and their status chances. So if we look here, the burst firing mode here has a crit chance of 75, crit multiplier of 4.6, and a status chance of 33%. But then if we scroll down and we look at the semi-automatic's crit is 111, so a lot higher. Crit multiplier is higher at 6.4, and the status is a little bit lower at 21%. And then if we go to the burst, automatic, sorry. If we go to the automatic, it is 63% crit, so that's the lowest, 4.2 crit multiplier, and 33% status chance. So you have all these different firing modes. So something that I was interested in, because I also wasn't really sure, I was like, well, what firing mode is going to be the best? So I did tests. I did tests on all the firing modes this morning. I did a bunch of runs, and I have that data for you. But before we bring up that data, I also want to explain that on low alpha damage weapons, viral or corrosive is usually the way to go. So like this build is a viral build, but you could just switch it to corrosive and it would be just as good. So viral or corrosive for low alpha weapons. And when you start getting into high alpha, things like blast and gas do really well. And the burst fire mode and the automatic mode on this weapon are definitely low alpha. But if we look at the semi-automatic mode, it's starting to do a little bit more damage here. And so the semi-automatic mode, it's on the cusp. It's still probably considered, I would still probably consider it low alpha, but it's really on the cusp of maybe becoming a high alpha weapon. So I wanted to do some testing on the semi-automatic mode with gas or blast. But because of my progenitor, because I have a toxic progenitor, I was not able to test blast like 1-for-1 with the viral builds, so I tested gas instead. But gas and blast work very similarly. If gas is going to do very good and beat viral, then blast is almost going to do the exact same thing, or opposite. You know, if one loses, then blast is probably also going to lose. Okay, so let's go out of the build here real quick. I'm just going to bring that data up before we go into the mods. Okay, so this is the Kuva Hind. These are kill counts for 5-minute runs on Steel Path Void Mott. So we're going to start with Burst. I did 3 runs on Burst, 5 minutes each. So 431, 440, and 439 kills for a total in 3 runs of 1,310 kills. The automatic mode got 406, 441, 431 for a total in 3 runs of 1,278 kills. The semi-automatic mode got 418, 404, and 411 for a total in 3 runs of 1,233 kills. I'm going to leave gas out for a second here. So all 3 of those were with viral. And I would say that there's not really a conclusive winner here because there is a lot of subjectivity in my runs. I try to make them all the same. I try to pick a tile set that has 2 entry points, and I just hold those entry points. That's all I do. I just play very mechanically, where I just keep firing. I never stop holding the left click. So I play very mechanically, and so I'm trying to like replicate the run every time, but there is a level of subjectivity to it. So because all 3 of those are less than 100 kills apart, I would really not say that there's like a conclusive winner. If I was to redo the tests, who knows, maybe automatic beats out everything, or maybe semi-automatic beats out everything. So just talking about viral setups, I think you just kind of pick what you like the best. For me, I liked burst. I felt like the burst mode actually felt the best. The automatic mode felt good, but as soon as you lose a stack of, or as soon as you lose a few stacks of scope, it starts feeling really weak. It feels like you're starting to slap enemies with like wet pool noodles, where burst never felt like that. The semi-automatic feels really good, but it's super slow. Like the actual damage you get out of the semi-automatic is the best, but it's slow. And for that reason, I think if you were to have an external, like maybe you were playing Wisp, or maybe you were using Reinforced Bond on your pet, or some other way to get more fire rate than what we're going to have on the weapon as far as mods go, I think the semi-automatic mode might actually be the way to go with external fire rate. So with external fire rate, I think the semi is the way to go. Without external fire rate, I'm going to be leaning towards burst. I really like that burst mode. Okay, so the other thing, like I was saying, I wanted to test the semi-automatic mode with either gas or blast. And because of my progenitor toxin, I wasn't able to just do like a 1-for-1 test against them with blast. So I did gas instead. The only difference, I took out off the primed cryo that was making viral, and I put on the 60-60 heat. So the reason is blast and gas actually want more statuses. Viral is fine with being a low status weapon as long as it's not ridiculously slow to shoot. But blast and gas, they want a little bit more status. So I put the 60-60 heat in the place of the prime cryo. And as we see here, the gas build for the semi got 422, 387, and 401 kills for a total in 3 runs of 1,210. Now there's 2 things to consider here. The first thing is that this is on Void Mott. On Void Mott, enemies take more damage from viral. So viral is almost always going to beat gas. So because gas is actually like almost at the same level as viral, I would say that's actually a win for gas. Because gas should be losing by a lot, because viral should be doing a lot better, but it's not. It's actually kind of the same, which would mean that gas is stronger than viral. But here's the other thing you need to consider, and why I think we need to take a few points off of gas. The way I do these tests is I hold a tile set with 2 entry points, and I just hold those 2 entry points, right? And so a lot of times enemies are bottlenecking in those 2 entry points. Well, that's going to make gas look a lot stronger than maybe it should be. If you were just on a multiplayer map, like running around in like a Lua that had really big tile sets, like open tile sets, you're going to get a lot less value out of gas. So, you know, you got to give a few points to gas because it's competing against viral, which should do better, but then you got to take a few points away from it because of just the nature of my tests where enemies are kind of coming into 2 bottlenecks. So just consider that. You could use gas, and because gas did pretty decent, that means that blast will also likely be pretty decent as well. It's just that gas and blast are a little bit more dependent on the area. You really need to be locking down like 1 or 2 entry points. Viral is going to feel good all the time, whether it's whether enemies are funneling in or whether it's just single enemies. It's going to feel good all the time. But gas and blast can do better, but you need to be locking down areas. Okay, so let's, I think that's enough of that. We can go back here. All right. So let's go back into the build for the Hind. So because I'm going for the burst fire setup, and because I'm going for viral, I have chosen a toxin progenitor. And that's because I could just put the cold mod on here. And I'm going to use primed cryo in this case because viral doesn't really care too much about like super high status chance. And that's what I'll do. But if you wanted to go if you wanted to go blast or gas, consider using a heat progenitor and then using the second mod to make either one of those two. Okay? Okay, I think we're finally good to go over the mods here. So we're going to have Galvanized Chamber for multi-shot. We're going to have Galvanized Scope for critical chance. We're going to have Prime Shred for fire rate and punch through. Prime Shred is unfortunately a login reward. So if you don't have Prime Shred, you would want to use Vial Acceleration. Vial Acceleration will actually give you a little bit more fire rate. You just won't get the punch through with it. Hunter Munitions is going to be for 30% chance to apply a slash on a critical. Critical Delay is critical chance. Vital Sense is critical damage. Bladed Rounds is more critical damage. But here's another caveat to this slot right here. For a viral setup, you want to go Bladed Rounds. That's an easy choice. But for gas or blast, instead of Bladed Rounds, choose to go Hammer Shot. Okay, so if we look at Bladed Rounds, it's 120 crit damage. If we look at Hammer Shot, it's only 60 crit damage. You get half the crit damage. But with Hammer Shot, you get a big boost of status chance there too. Now, like we were saying, gas and blast, they want a little bit more status chance than viral does. So you could get that status chance by using Hammer Shot over Bladed Rounds. So just consider that if you're going with that other setup. Okay, and then in this slot here, we're going to go for Prime Cryo. That's going to make our viral. And in the Exilus slot, we're going to go Stabilizer. There is an option to go Vigilante Supplies. So Vigilante Supplies is going to convert 1 out of 20 of your shots. It's going to upgrade the crit. So if your crit is a yellow, it'll upgrade it to an orange. If it's an orange, it'll upgrade it to a red, and so on. Now, Stabilizer, it's not super needed for the automatic or burst fire modes, but the semi-automatic mode, you need 2 forms of negative or weapon recoil. So we use primary deadhead, which is going to give us negative weapon recoil, and we use Stabilizer, which is going to give us negative weapon recoil. And that will completely eliminate the recoil from the semi-automatic. Now, if you didn't have Stabilizer here and you just had deadhead, the burst fire and the automatic fire, they feel okay. There's a little bit of recoil left. So it's really up to you. If you can live with that recoil, you could use Vigilante Supplies, and you would get a little bit extra damage because your crits would be upgraded once in a while. But I just like the comfiness of not having any recoil, so I'm going to put Stabilizer on. I don't know. Where did it go? Did it put it at the end here? It's so weird that it always puts it at the end. I'll put Stabilizer back on. All right, and in the Arcane slot, we're going to go for Primary Deadhead. It's going to give us a 360% flat damage increase, a 30% headshot multiplier, and negative weapon recoil, which is really nice. So that is the build for the Kuva Hind. What I'm going to do now is I'm going to show this in Steel Path gameplay and just show how it works. I'm going to be playing on the burst mode for this. I'll show off all the modes, but I really do like the burst mode compared to the others there. So I'm going to be doing this on a big dumb Anaros with no Archon shards that increase weapon performance. And with no mods or arcanes on the Anaros that increase weapon performance, and with a pet with no sentinel weapon and no mods on the pet that increase weapon performance. Okay, let me stop running my mouth and get into the mod.
Accept your death.
And the weapon actually starts on burst mode. So when you just get into a mission, it'll be on burst. And when you alternate click, I don't know if you could see it in the bottom right, how it says burst right now. If I click now, it's semi, then it's auto, then it's back to burst. The other thing I didn't say is when you're in semi-automatic mode, every shot consumes 3 ammo. So you see how it says 90? If I shoot one time, boop, now it's 87. So a little bit more ammo consumption on the semi, but it shoots a lot slower. Something also to consider before we do this is that there's a new settings, and just for people that don't know this yet, if you go to options, you go into accessibility, there's this setting right here, fire manual trigger weapons continuously. This will let you fire burst weapons and semi-automatic weapons as if they were automatic. So it'll actually help you a little bit on DPS because of that. So like, for instance, I'm just going to hold the click button. I don't actually have to burst this. It's just going to burst it on its own. So like, that's not too bad. That's pretty good. And same thing with the semi-automatic. If I go to semi and I just hold the left click, it's going to shoot it, you know, on its own there. All right, let me start this up here. You got it on burst.
Just shut down all systems.
I'm going to give myself some status immunity, but that's the only thing this thing does. So the burst mode, once I get a few stacks of scope, should be mostly oranges. There's still going to be a little bit of yellows, but it's going to be mostly oranges. Yeah, I really like the burst mode. If I was playing like Wisp or maybe using Reinforced Bond or playing some other kind of Warframe that gave fire rate, I might consider switching over to the semi-automatic. Because the semi-automatic is a orange and red crit. So this is almost full oranges. And then semi-automatic is orange and red crits. It's just that it's very slow. It's very slow, and so it didn't do bad as far as kills go. It was like pretty much close to being the same as the other two. It just didn't feel as good, right? Because like you're a little bit more stressed. Like if you miss a shot on the semi-automatic, it hurts more than if you miss a shot on the automatic or the burst. So it's a little bit more skill-based, a little bit more stressful. You can't be missing shots on the semi-automatic. And I don't like that. I don't like high-stress weapons. I like the Hind, though. The Hind is a nice little assault rifle. It's not an amazing weapon. Like, it's not going to be doing, like, torrid levels of kill per minutes. Like, some of the meta weapons we've done in the game, we've done this, like, run-through in the game, have done about 1,100 to 1,200 kills in 10 minutes. And I'm going to be very surprised if this even comes close to that. I think it's going to be more in the 700. That's going to be my guess. It's going to be like 700 range in 10 minutes. I know our 5-minute runs were like 400 kills, but the first 5 minutes you get the most kills. After that, it starts slowing down because you start getting more Thraxes out. You start getting the Acolyte that comes out and starts harassing you. So like the next 5 minutes, you get a lot less kills than the first 5 minutes.
My brothers, did I not tell of this day?
So I'm gonna guess 700. I won't check the kills until we're at the very end. But I'm gonna guess like 700 kills. I also play a little bit more freely when I'm doing the just the gameplay showcase, because I don't want to just like sit in one tile set and make everyone bored. So I kind of move around a little bit, which is not always like the best for kill per minutes. Even though this is burst, because of that firing mode thing, it doesn't really feel like that bad of a burst. It feels almost like automatic, and it has better stats than the automatic. Except for stat, I think the status chance is worse, but the crit stats I believe are better. You know what I really would like? I would have liked if the semi-automatic mode had innate punch through. That would have been cool. Because then we could go Vile Acceleration on the semi-automatic mode, but it doesn't, unfortunately. I don't know what I'm going to do for a video tomorrow because there's a big update with like a bunch of changes. But I usually do my videos in the morning. And the update probably won't be out until like the afternoon or like the super late morning. Like usually like 11 a.m. My time is when they update things, or like 11 or 12. So it'll probably just be like a regular video tomorrow on something. I'm not really sure what. And then Thursday maybe we'll hit something up. We'll hit something up. One of the new things.
Extraction is available if you need it.
Against the Acolyte, this is going to feel like a pretty basic assault rifle. It's not going to feel really any different against the Acolyte than any other assault rifle. My wife really likes this weapon, and I was always like, why? Because she hates aiming. She's not really good at aiming, so she likes AoE weapons. And like, this is definitely not an AoE weapon. This is a weapon that you get more value by headshotting things. So I was always like, why do you like the Hind so much? And you know what I think it is? She hates the Lich system because she gets very unlucky every time. Like, she always has a level 4 Lich, or she'll screw up and then get a level 5 Lich. And she doesn't have many Kuva weapons, so I think this is like one of her only Kuva weapons. So I think that's why she likes it. Not because, you know, it's actually her playstyle, just because it's her only Kuva weapon. Well, it's not her only one, but it's close to it. I think she only has, like, maybe 4. I'm getting knocked around. I'm going to put some status immunity back on. We'll switch our locations. We'll fight in this room so we get a little bit better scenery. Prettier tile set. If you get a little bit lazy on the headshots, you'll start noticing more yellow crits than normal. And that just means you gotta focus a little bit more on getting headshots and get back up into 5 scope stacks. That's not a big deal. I get lazy sometimes. Or I'll move locations and I'll drop a couple scope stacks because of it.
Life support levels.
I'm gonna hit this one life support here. I think we're probably only gonna need to hit one before 10 minutes is up.
Let it be known, if the Tenno wants true salvation, they will lay down their arms and wait for the baptism of my Yanis key.
Yeah, Torment up. Come on, Torment, where are you at? Oh, he's not doing the really... Oh, I was going to say, he's not doing the annoying thing where he teleports behind me in his little Hydroid wave, but he just did it as soon as I thought about it. He sensed it. All right, we're almost at 10 minutes. We were guessing 700. 700 is my guess. I think it is. I think this is an average, maybe above average weapon. So I'm gonna say like 700-ish. Like on the low end of above average. So like either average or on the low end of above average. Maybe I'll surprise myself. Maybe it'll be like 1,000 kills. I doubt it. I doubt it. Right, 5 more seconds. Let's get some kills in. Come on, gotta get you up there. Maybe you'll beat the turret. Maybe. Probably not. All right, we're at 10 minutes. Let's find the exit and then we'll check. 726. Damn, I'm pretty good at guessing. I'm pretty good at guessing there. 726. All right, so that's above average, like slightly.
Extraction is ready.
So, it's a good weapon. It's, you know, it's worth getting. It's worth building out. As you see, it slays Steel Path enemies. It's just that there are a lot of weapons in the game that probably slay a little bit better than the Hind. But it's a, you know, it's a good one. It's in the above average category.
As you conquer the foe, so you conquer yourself.
Well, actually, you know, I shouldn't say it's worth getting in build. It's up to you because Kuva weapons are a little bit expensive, right? Like you got to put friggin' 5 Forma into them. So if you're a little bit strapped for Forma, this is a average to maybe above average weapon. So you'd have to kind of make that consideration. You know, do you want to spend 5 Forma on a like possibly above average weapon, maybe even average? So that's up to you. If you guys like the video, consider giving it a like. If you haven't subbed yet, consider subbing or tell me what I can do to earn your sub. And I hope you guys have an amazing day. All right, bye.